All right, so I haven't been recording in a while. Just been not really wasting my time on with it or on it. But something I just keep seeing stuff when I go online that's really starting to annoy me and irritate me, and so I wanted to bring it up and talk about it. It's random, but it's random rants. So there's a new show coming out called Queen Cleopatra. It's a Netflix show, and apparently they cast a woman who is black to play Cleopatra. I don't know anything about Cleopatra, what she was. It's irrelevant. Cleopatra, from what I remember, was just a whore for Europeans. So I don't know too much about her. But with that being said, I wanted to make this because this is just another example. And I like to bring these things up because I think it may help the self esteem of a lot of black people, because once you start to learn about reality and the patheticness and the jealousy of so many of these other groups, you kind of understand how great of a race we are. As much as whites use their propaganda and their media to make us look like drug addicts or homosexuals or rapists or gang members or criminals, no matter how much of that stuff that white people put out there, that propaganda, as much of that stuff that you see, we have to understand and realize how great of a group we actually are. So you got to counter that stuff, all that propaganda. So when you see this complaint, I mean, people are complaining like crazy.
The first one I was going to talk about before we get on to The Witcher getting absolutely destroyed is a little bit of controversy around the Queen Cleopatra that's coming out. It's
Yeah.
well, they made some interesting choices with Cleopatra. She is now played by a black actress, and as you can imagine, the world didn't take it too well, and there's been a lot of backlash to this casting choice because, and it's my understanding that the real life Cleopatra was actually Macedonian Greek, and so she wouldn't be African. She would be more or less white. It should be Mediterranean at the very least.
You have the obviously the jealous racist white people who are using this just because they're racist, and this is an excuse for them to complain about black people. That's really all they're doing. All the little pop culture losers and butt pluggers who sit and talk about pop culture, and who are harboring feelings of jealousy towards black males, especially because they have to sit at home with their little cocks and just watch movies and play video games all day, and they can't go out and actually interact with women because their women are so are so desperate to spend their time with black males. So these guys have all that inner rage and jealousy. So they're out there making these pathetic, shitty videos. But it's not only just them. You go on and you see the Middle Easterns and the Arab people who have occupied Egypt complaining too, and they're like really upset. I mean, like from scholars to just pop culture people to just podcast people, they are all complaining. It's just like a complaint across the board, and the the reason that it's annoying to me and also funny to me is a movie came out. I think it was in 2014, so less than 10 years ago. A movie came out called Exodus: Gods and Kings. It was a big deal. Ridley Scott made the movie. Had all these effects. Had all these major actors in it, and the Egyptians in that movie were played by Northern European people. That there were no complaints. I think Ramesses was played by an Australian man. It was clearly white. He's not black. He's not even Arab or Middle Eastern. He's clearly a Australian white male. I remember because I remember when the movie came out, looking at it and being like, "Wow, they're still doing this." I don't remember all these videos and all these complaints. I don't remember the pathetic, jealous, racist white males who and females who are online making all these videos now about Cleopatra. I don't remember seeing any videos from those people about that movie when it was released, or even recently. Just harking back and talking about it. Even within the videos that they're making now about Cleopatra, they're not complaining about rewriting history and race swapping the Egyptian people with white people. They're not. That's not a complaint of theirs, and that tends to never be a complaint of theirs. It tends to never be a complaint that, well, they are race swapping certain groups for white people. Now, I've seen a handful of things in the past about certain things, like the Avatar movie and Dragon Ball Z, things like that. So I have seen it in the past, but recently now that's not even an issue anymore. The only time that they will complain is if a black person is put in the role of a fictional white person, fictional white group. And I have had my own complaints about that for things that I know and love. But for the most part, that's not really that important or relevant to me. But it's like a big deal to them. But when a white person is put in the role of a non white person, there's no complaints. Nobody's upset. No one's rage filled and making video after video after video. You don't even see the Arabs or the Middle Easterns making these. They don't give a shit. And the reason that the Arabs and the Middle Easterns don't give a shit is because the Arabs and the Middle Easterns want to be associated and even identified with whites. They want to be white. And so you see that when a white person's playing their role in their mind, they're like, oh, yes, finally, we're being represented by our gods, which are white people. So they're not making any complaints. And it's really pathetic, and it shows the jealousy that it seems like all non-black people have for black people. I'm just going through so many different things. You have Asian people from Eastern Asia who do going out of their way to do certain things to attack us or to insult us. But they don't seem to do the same thing for white people. And if you're a fan of television and movies, white people go out of their way to minimize Eastern Asian people and Western Asian people. You have Western Asian people doing the same thing, complaining about us, saying that we're the problem, that being woke is bad because it is associated with propping up black people, or discussing the harms that were done against black people. So really, it was just an attack on blacks. And if you exist in the world and you pay attention to anything, you'll see that white people are very dismissive of Asian people in general. So you won't see too many Asian shows, you won't see too many Asian movies. You'll only have a handful of Asian people in any media that white people create. Big stars like Bruce Lee or Donnie Yen, who have proven to be box office draws, are just kept out of the spotlight in Western media because they don't like or respect Asian people. And this, you see this stuff all the time, but but the Asian people never seem to complain about the whites. It's their complaints are always focused on the blacks. Now, why would that be? Throughout history, you've had the British go into India and just take over. Like, this is our place and you work for us. You are employees and we're taking over your land. The British have gone into places like China and just said, you're going to do what we want, and we're going to make money off of your people. And if you don't like it, well, we're going to attack you. And they did attack them. And they go in and they occupy these places. You watch a lot of Asian movies, for example, especially Eastern Asian movies. Well, not even just Eastern Asian movies, Asian movies in general. From what is it, Fearless, that starred Jet Li, to that new Indian movie that came out recently, RRR. And in those movies, they document what the British people and European whites have done to them throughout history. Yet, despite knowing all that stuff, you still don't see them attacking whites. It's always an attack against blacks. And I don't remember any African countries, African people. I don't remember American blacks at any point in history doing anything to try to hurt or to sabotage or to stop the development of anybody in Asia. I never seen that before. If anything, in the 70s, when Asian people were trying to, build more for themselves, we're the ones that kind of push their movies and things. People like Bruce Lee would come to us to help lift him up and lift up the school that he was trying to create. And they know that they can come to us and that we will push their stuff. Yet for some reason, there's always this attack against us. They always just target us for the attacks. And the reason for that is because there is a deep rooted jealousy for black people. There is this really sick demonic jealousy that most non-blacks have for blacks, and an anger that isn't justified or warranted. And all that anger comes from the jealousy of black people. If you look at, for example, I'm going to give you one example. If you look at Western media in general, you have most products and things made starring white people. The only other group that has as not as much, because obviously we're not represented properly or as much as white people are, but the second group that has that type of representation in Western media, all of Western media, whether you're talking about America or you're talking about England, is black people. We're the second most important group in media, or the group that's represented the most after white people. So you have a whole bunch of black shows, black movies, black actors that are being put in things, and then you only have like a very small handful, if that, of Eastern Asian or Western Asian actors or shows or movies. They're so rare, it's irrelevant. And I think that breeds a lot of jealousy in these people. That, well, we are not white, but we want to at least take second chair to the white people, and they can't. They haven't been able to do that. It's been black people since the beginning of media or entertainment. We've always been in second place, even though we are like at last place as far as economics and development in the world. We're still always represented as second place in anything that Europeans create. And that's just because that's how great we are. You can't deny our greatness. You can't deny the stuff that we're capable of doing, or the things that we make, or what we are. And I think that makes a lot of non-white people jealous. And there is this pathetic jealousy that they have, where something like Exodus, Gods, and Kings come out, and the Arab people and the Middle Eastern people, they don't complain that, well, we have white people playing our roles. All of the high level people within the Egyptian cast are played by white people, and all the lower ones are played by either blacks or Middle Easterns or Arab people. They didn't complain about that. Why wouldn't you say, hey, why is a white man playing Ramesses, one of the most powerful people on the planet at the time? Why wouldn't you give that role to us? There's no complaint about that. But now when you have a movie about Cleopatra come out and there's a black person, and well, we don't want niggers portraying us. We're upset that a black person is portraying one of the people that we respect or revere, or who we think is one of us. We don't want that. That's pathetic. And then going back to the white people, just pay attention to that going forward, where these white people, they're getting upset over a black girl playing a cartoon mermaid. I mean, they're like enraged. They're boycotting shit as a result of that. But in a movie like Exodus, Gods, and Kings, when you have white people portraying actual historical figures who were clearly not Australian, because fucking Australia didn't exist at the time, there's no complaints. There's no outrage. There's no talk of boycotting. So whenever you see that, just know and realize that anyone saying those things is just a racist, pathetic piece of garbage, trash, and they're jealous of a group of people who they say are inferior to them. That black people are so inferior, but there's this jealousy, this deep-rooted jealousy, where if they see black people in any context that makes them appear at higher than them, or even just at the same level as them, well, phew, that triggers this real rage inside of them, and they got to go out there and make video after video after video and complain and talk about it amongst each other and make jokes and make little subliminal negative remarks about us because that makes them feel better about themselves. And I just had to bring that up because I'm seeing this so much now. And normally in the past, I've made videos about things like Lord of the Rings or Witcher, and I'm talking about race swapping and how I don't like race swapping. Honestly don't like race swapping. Um, I don't like I don't like it for certain reasons. Um, but I mean, and in those videos, I would always say, us fans, we complain because we're fans of the source material and we don't want to see the changes to something that we've been interacting with for decades at this point. Why would you make that change? It doesn't make sense. There's a laziness behind that decision. So I've kind of defended it in the past, and I had to make this to kind of correct it because now I'm starting to see it's like, oh no, it's not fans of things who are just complaining because it's something they love. It's just if a black person is put in something where white people don't want to see them in it, well then they're just going to complain because they're racist, pathetic losers, and they're jealous. Nobody that's making these videos, none of the white people anyway, are fans of Queen Cleopatra. They're not fans of her. Most of them don't know jack shit about Queen Cleopatra, just like I don't. They've had to go online and do research that they can, just so that they can make these videos that talk about black people being put in certain positions that they don't want them to be put in. So it's not has nothing to do with fans at this point, who are just upset that something they love is being modified for another audience. It's just pathetic, racist, small penis losers who are jealous, and I think anytime you see one of these videos, you need to go in and make those types of comments and let them know how you feel and what you think. Because I'm getting real sick and tired of hearing about it. It's pathetic and I don't want to say disgusting because I'm so used to it now, but it's pathetic that the white people are doing it. It's actually disgusting that the Middle Easterns and the Arabs are joining in because, like I said, black people have never done anything to hurt Middle Easterns or Arabs. Not in the past, in the several centuries. Um, but black society has never done anything to go after Arabs or Middle Easterns and hurt them. And white society has done it on a regular basis. They're still doing it. They've gone into their countries and occupied them. They've gone in and just executed people and just killed them and said, "Oh well, we thought you had weapons, so we have to murder you and your family." They've done horrible stuff. They've destroyed their way of life and worked to make sure that they can't take care of themselves financially. And they've done all kinds of like really sick stuff to these people. Yet the Arabs and the Middle Easterns still harbor this jealousy and this dislike for black people. When the black people I haven't done anything. And that's pathetic and disgusting to me because again, it's just jealousy. There's no reason to be that upset at black people. To not complain when white people are playing one of the people that you say one of the people that you say you've descended from, but then only complain when a black person is chosen to play someone that you say you were descended from. It's weird, it's pathetic, and it's disgusting, and people got to start calling it out. I'm gonna stop recording now because I've run out of stuff to say, and I'm just babbling at this point. All right.